it rains a lot in the hole. Humans get by however they can, while magic users use them for their terrible experiments. But when it rains, that angry rain, that vengeful rain, well, then that's when things get interesting. The deeper into the world of the hole we go, you'll find that this dark void of debauchery affects each and every one of its residents, from human to the nefarious magic user with death and dismemberment on their minds. If the muddy walls of the hole could talk, they would scream out roars of pain and trauma. And trauma can either make you or break you. People who, in order to be made anew, must be broken. They must be split open by the very muscle tissue to the bone in order to become something greater than what the whole forcefully destined them to be. Enter Shin, a man who spit in the face of being just another human statistic for the magic users and beat the shit out of destined death. Long before his great battles with lizard-headed, meat-brained psychopaths, Shin, like all of us, was a child. A former resident of the hole, Shin's mother was a magic user, but was unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your position, killed by the anti-magic user militia. The anti-magic militia was a paramilitary death squad created when humans rose up against magic users after being tired of them using them as test subjects for their experiments. Before humans were complacent in their oppressed state against the magic users, they fought back to the utmost extreme. Together, these walking skin bags committed the most heinous acts of revenge on magic users and became the protectors of the city. And as we pull out the good old chalkboard of despair, told you it'd come back, we can go over all the gruesome ways humans tried to murder magic user kind. Stepping up to the first plate, we have decapitation. Look at all that blood just spreading everywhere. I mean, I guess you can count this as dismemberment, but and there's a hammer involved, so there's foreshadowing. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if she was a magic user. I mean, look at the way she's dressed. Look at that. It's just ridiculous. And last but not least, burning alive. Look at him go. All of this was done at the torture square, where the humans would murder not only magic users, but humans who sympathize with them as well. This hatred you see for magic user kind was deeper than blood. It existed within the very bone marrow of the very spirit of humankind. And today it's a baseball field. All of this sets the stage for the coming turmoil in Shin's life. After the death of his mother, his father, a human and magic user sympathizer, took care of him, and Shin was able to blend in and make a living working at the joinery where his father was a carpenter. This peaceful time wouldn't last due to him being injured on the job, and the humans working with him saw the smoke in his blood and called the militia. To protect his son, Shin's father sacrificed himself and was murdered for lying with a magic user. This would in turn drive our dear Shin over the edge, burning the last shred of innocence he had left. He murdered his father's killers brutally and went into hiding for 3 months. During this time, Shin would act out his revenge and murder every militia bastard he could find with a certain trusty hammer. And to get by, he committed crimes and kept on his feet through the streets of the hole. Later, Shin would come across Kasukabe and Vox at their local hospital, laid out in the operation room. Shin, being at the end of his rope and on his last leg, literally, would mutilate himself in order to find the correct vessels to produce smoke. With the help of Kasakabe, Shin was finally able to produce smoke, but this came at the expense of him cutting off both his arms, which he then asked Kasakabe to stitch back together. With his newfound powers and rage still festering deep in his heart, Shin went on a killing spree again, and this time with his magic powers, of course, and murdered every last militia bastard again with the same hammer again, but this time just worse than the last time because, why wouldn't you want to try out your new magic powers on assholes? So that did happen, and eventually he escaped the hole and ventured into the magic user realm, because if he stayed there, woo! Now, just because Shin was finally free of his troubles in the hole didn't mean he was free of his troubling habits. He was still poor, broke, and very much struggling to find a place to call home. Shin's old habits would lead him to do what he had to do to survive. And by the hand of fate, Shin would come across one of In's restaurants and run into none other than Noi.
It should have been me, not him! It's not
Once she confronted Shin, she demanded he pay back what he stole. But with Shin being broke as a joke, that wasn't gonna happen. And with that, Shin stood his ground. But Noi, being just as much a brawler as he was, decided to heal Shin's arms so they can have a fair one-on-one fight, which didn't end well for her because Shin is him. No, not him. Him. The fight ended with Shin stabbing Noi in the back of her head with his signature claw hammer, and then with him flying away, because of course, some shit like that would happen to somebody on the streets of the magic user world. But being the kind man Shin still tries to be, he promised Noi that he would pay her back for healing him before leaving her in her own blood to heal and fight another day. Eventually, Shin would come to be hired by In as a new bouncer. In was especially interested in Shin's mutilation type magic because, why not have someone willing to get bloody, guts and all for you? I know I would. Through In's connections, Shin became even closer with Noi, and the two of them formed a powerful friendship. They would travel the magic user realm, enacting In's will no matter how ridiculous that will ended up being. And while Shin was finally off the streets, his old traumas began showing in different ways, such as the fact that he eats very fast, faster than Noi even. And that's primarily because when you're on the move constantly and trying to survive in the hole, food is eaten more for sustenance and not really for enjoyment. Their journey would hit two ugly road bumps in the form of Baku and Yaku, though. Baku and Yaku tried to beat them up on none other than Blue Night of all things, a night we're all familiar with by now, and their goal was to get Shin and Noi to become their magic partners by force. Granted, there's no rule saying you can't do that, but if you can throw hands, then sure. And if you succeed by force, then of course that magic user now has to do whatever you say, whether they want to or not. Shin and Noi faced off against the two bozos, but a final shot rang for Noi, and Shin, being the dashing, gentle beast that he is, took the hit for her, which in turn made up for their previous encounter. This moment truly solidified their friendship, because during this time, Noi was training to become a devil, and she was almost on her way. But if she used her abilities, she would have to give up her chance at becoming a devil. And Shin wanted her to go through with the process with no regrets. But Noi's heart overtook any logic that fateful night. She healed Shin, and relinquished her devilhood, making them an inseparable pair from there on out. Of the two of them, Shin is a much more calm and collected person, unless noise starts to show him much deserved affection, in which case that leads him down the road of embarrassment. But I can't imagine why. You won, dude. You won. You won. And now, kids, with Shin's overall backstory covered, I thought it would only be right to touch on what makes him valuable as N's right-hand cleaner. Our magic word of the day is mutilation. Shin's mutilation-type magic allows him to slice and dice anything. Its core ability revolves around not causing the victim to bleed out and die from organ failure. In turn, if Shin were to die, all of the effects of his magic would wear off, and you would suffer horribly from your wounds. Luckily, he's that guy. Another ability Shin has is to use his smoke as a defense against oncoming projectiles, such as gunfire, causing bullets to halt and shatter upon contact. Shin, like many other top-tier magic users, uses doors to get around. His door, El Corazon, is translated to mean the heart, and his mask, given to him by Beelzebub himself, is also in the form of a heart. From the death of his mother before he was born, to watching his father die before his eyes, to running the streets, homeless and hungry, thieving from one place to the next, Shin became one of the many shining stars in the magic user realm, and a very approachable guy, given all that's happened to him in his life. Many people go through terrible things, some that leave scars that no form of help can fix. But if there's anything Shin has shown us, and is maybe why Beelzebub gave him the heart symbol to begin with, it's that no matter how dark things got, Shin's heart always remained pure. He doesn't kill without reason, and always has love for his family and friends. He has not one hateful bone in his body, and despite the brutal killings he definitely enjoys doing, Shin has a heart of gold. So remember, kids, your life is what you make it to be, and your scars are with symbols of triumph, not pain. Remember that next time you're tearing a guy apart in an alley somewhere or something. Good night, everybody.